So, that girl I met on eHarmony.
Yeah.
We're out to dinner last night, and like a klutz, I tipped my drink all over myself.
Oh, no.
And it's all down my shirt. A horrible stain. So embarrassing. And you'll never guess.
What?
She smiles, picks up her drink, spills it all over her top. So now we're...
No way.
Amazing, right?
At eHarmony, you'll find someone you can be yourself with. Get who gets you on eHarmony. Sign up for eHarmony today.
What you just said.
Take care, Polly Wally.
Why don't you put your pants back on, Slappy?
Stop him! Stop him! Stop him! You can put it on the board! Yes! Whoop action!
Roland, action.
How you doing?
It's PA 9 to noon on the Fan.
9 to noon.
And good morning. This is 9 to noon.
Little puck talk.
Excited for Thursday on a Tuesday because we get to do a Vox in the Box with these guys.
Hartman carries it, drops it off. Faber has a clean look, and he scores! Brock Faber, high glove, and the Wild have another one in Denver. It's 3-1 Minnesota.
Hey.
You gotta be vaping me.
The old Monday matinee trick in the Mile Get High City was cool for our boys. They beat the Avs and stifled them in a way our friend Alan Roach, the voice of Ball Arena, could have had laryngitis and none of the Avalanche fans would have known. His beloved Avs couldn't get to Fleury, couldn't get rebounds. HOF didn't make any available. And for the Vox of all Voxes ever to Vox, scoring for Colorado was limited to a single announcement. Vox in the Box Thursday. Heinze to start. Carts hopefully to finish with Russo Radio in between. And 9 to noon is absolutely tickled. The Minnesota Wild won before the Vox in the Box. It's a Vox in the Box vibe thing. Cranky people be damned. Over the weekend, they were smashed at Smashville by Bruno's Preds and losing to another Western Conference squad into Thursday. That might have been negative, but
It's time to drop the puck.
But alas, they beat a high-ender on the road and did so sans Kaprizov, Brodin, and Spurgeon, who all should be returning quite soon. They beat McKinnon and the Avs. How about this? Despite gaining 0 points from Boldy, Eriksson Ek, Rossi, and Zuki. That's hockey. That's hockey. Excited to talk to the coach about 21-year-old defenseman David Jiricek, who made this move by the boards on a player named Logan O'Connor that broke the winger's ankles, then deked another mogul and slid it to Trenyon for the score.
You gotta be kidding me. You have got to be kidding me.
Kidding the Vox of all Voxes ever to Vox. Scoring for the Minnesota Wild, Trenyon. That whole production was that of je ne sais quoi, jaw-dropping, eye-popping, and with assertiveness. So now the squad is 4-10-1 versus Western Conference playoff teams. like the Minnesota Vikings, Lions, and Green Bay Packers, our beloved Christmas colors, seem to be having a good old time versus the conference bottom feeders. But now, with an OT win at Dallas, yes, but now, for the Christmas colors and a Vox in the Box on Thursday, and we can't wait to be there, start the show with Heinze. For the Minnesota Wild, the beloved Christmas colors, they now have an OT win at Dallas and a Monday matinee where they've gotten over the hump versus a couple of bullies on the block. Yes.
That's sweet. You know the best part about doing Vox in the Box, and you mentioned it, the Monday matinee and getting over the hump and beating the Avs and keeping Alan Roach, whose voice we love, somewhat quiet at Ball Arena.
Welcome to Ball Arena. Those towels on your chairs are for the tears the Wild are about to put on our fan base.
There is an element where it's like, man, Vox in the Box, okay, we're shaking off some rust. We got some what's next with the football team. Basketball team still weird, but slowly getting better. Hockey team injured. I don't want to be the guy that's responsible for ending a 4-game losing streak. So we're rolling in, fresh off a victory, and I'm excited actually on Thursday to hear from the head coach because this Juracek cat, right? Like they make the move, they bring him in. Who the heck is he? He's like 21. I remember filling in for you, and I even asked him, like, when can we expect to see him? And the coach is like, whoa, let's pump the brakes on this before we get to the kid. And now he, you know, albeit in a loss, there were like 15 fights in Nashville on Saturday. He gets his first goal there, I believe, for the Wild, and then he has the dime yesterday. So good times for Juracek. I'm excited to hear what the head coach has to say with him, and I'm excited that they're off a W, so we don't shoulder the burden of a 4-game L streak for our hockey team.
Shouldering said burden used to be a calling card for the 9 to noon radio show and Vox in the Box. Then they became worried with the hyperactive host of said show.
Yeah.
So the device used to like put things on the scoreboard.
The control board
and the horn and stuff like that removed.
Well, didn't somebody on a catwalk? This has to be pre-Nordo. Mm-hmm. There was somebody on a catwalk, and you were there for a Vox in the Box show.
Yep.
The control board was set up with the horn and controls the scoreboard and such. And I'm pretty sure you fired off the horn and startled a guy well above the ice at the top of XL Energy Center on a catwalk. Is that accurate?
The precipitous fall of the hockey team was overshadowed by the precipitous fall of a human.
And they needed CSI.
But so the control board dead.
That's gone.
That's a decade plus old.
I was actually told early days of my run with you, this has got to be 2014, 2015-ish.
Yeah.
An engineer was out there. They was fresh off a music show. They had to rewire a Cat 6 line so we get internet and do radio. That's boring. I get it.
Cat 6 line, though.
Engineer told me specifically, you're going to disconnect that, correct? You're going to take that away. That's not going to be on, correct?
Hey, no! Hey.
And I've never forgotten that.
Right. But there also, have been Vox in the Box days when it was at XL Energy Center where Vox in the Box showed up and the squad won 19 consecutive.
How about that?
And teams would line up in front of the penalty box to attempt to shoot the puck through the hole to win the $100 hanging. I mean, that was age old. It caught fire around the league because there are Minnesotans on so many teams, the Minnesotans would tell their teammates about God's cartoon character and the $100 bill hanging, and they would head out about 11:15 looking to take somebody's money. But then that was taken away. And now we are at Tria, where the Minnesota Wild practice with their morning skates. And they come off a game where, the ice was tilted. It's like in the Mile Get High City, it was the home team that got smoked.
I'm curious someday we all acquire random things over the course of time. We just acquire stuff. Is there ever going to be a point maybe where there's a garage sale in your neighborhood and you're digging through closets and compartments and various things where you've stuffed stuff and you find 5, 6, 7 plush white horses from Vikes in the Box, White Horse Roll-In Radio.
White Horse Radio for Boudreaux.
Where the team needed us.
Yeah.
And Gabby rolls into the penalty box and you're sitting there petting a white horse.
Yes.
And asking the head coach to pet said white horse.
Yes.
How many of those have you accumulated over the course of the years?
We're down to one because for the first 5, not only was it the team that came up lame, it was the horse. Those who watched and listened know the ice was tilted yesterday. McKinnon's bunch had like 5 shots middle of the game, went 11 minutes and change, either with 1 shot or sans a shot. So Utah's here Thursday, Utah, and Vikes in the Box is on the scene at Tria. And 9 to noon, as you can tell from the prattle delivered by the producer and yours truly, we can't wait. We also can't wait for Buffalo to meet these guys.
Townsend holds it. Fairbairn. Blocked! It's blocked! The Chiefs blocked the field goal. Picked up on the near sideline. And hopping out of bounds with the football is Jaden Hicks. It's Chanel again. Leo Chanel, who won the Denver game with the block-off field goal.
Of course he did.
It is Leo Chanel again to block this field goal at 1:46 to go in the game.
Oh, it's one of the best. Mitch Holtis, 106.5 The Wolf and the Chiefs Radio Network.
Leo Chanel does not sound like a Badger linebacker. He sounds like some form of perfume. Now, Utah, cool. And with the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs, cool. Allen at Mahomes, Jaden at Jalen. Those are the final 4. Personally speaking, this is not here's the reality radio. I couldn't care less who wins these games. What about you?
To be honest with you, no. I mean, I'm going to be rooting for the dogs in both cases. I'm going to be rooting for Jaden in Philly to topple the Eagles and send Sirianni packing. I'm going to be rooting for Josh Allen and kind of that story of how, I mean, he has truly fixed, I think, some of the things that you would say were massive problems throughout his career. There were constantly trackers of it where, hey, look at, since Josh Allen was drafted, he leads the league in touchdowns, passing and rushing. Oh, yeah, he also leads all players in turnovers generated as well. He's throwing across the body. He's fumbling. He's getting careless with the ball. That was always kind of the bugaboo for Josh Allen was the turnovers.
Yeah.
I think he's got like 5 or 6 picks this year, just a couple lost fumbles. He's fixed the turnover issue. He's playing more free, it seems, than really he has since he got the job. So I'm rooting for them. It's I asked you the other day, like, hey, do you think dynasties matter in the NFL? It's a target at which to shoot in some ways, and then people love rooting against the evil empire. I don't look at the Chiefs as being an evil empire of any sort. I love Patrick Mahomes.
Coach, super cool.
Coach is awesome, HOF, right, with Andy. So in the end, though, I'm looking for the Bills to finally take that step. And after a couple of nasty playoff L's that the Chiefs have put on them, that the Bills turn the tables at Arrowhead and they head to Superdome.
Feeling all of that, and if it happens, que sera, sera.
Football feast.
Because I'm not exactly sure why those with no horse in the race root against immortality, but making a name for yourself on social media is all the rage these days. I mean, like the Vikings, Buffalo is 0 for 4 in Super Bowls. So maybe them not getting to party with the Lombardi would be cool. I mean, maybe, but I ain't going to root against it.
Yeah.
I'm prepared to enjoy the games and analyze and witness how the Jimmies and Joes continue to matter more than the X's and O's. Saquon has become immortality. Cool, and that's cool. No rookie quarterback has started a Super Bowl. Go Jaden Daniels. That's cool. Taylor Swift and Caitlin Clark in a New Orleans suite for the Super Bowl. I'm fine with that. The Eagles getting over the hump after a month and change ago basically hating each other.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all good. So my suggestion is, if you are so inclined, is to play some of Nordo's prize picks and enjoy the games, not worrying who wins and why. Like play some 5-player $20 spotties, try to turn those bad boys into hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. You with me on that?
Well, now that you said that, you laid it out. There are cool bits. If any of these teams, whoever of the four advance, whoever the two are.
Zacchaeus over some fat number with a red goblin.
Yeah.
Hey!
Zacchaeus, Olamide Zacchaeus. I mean, there's going to be Olamide Zacchaeus talkers into Super Bowl week. It'll be Golden Tate walking through Radio Row with a Hershey's chocolate jersey on, trying to get $1.50 in the offseason. It'll be bits like that. But each and every one of these teams, the Bills they would be a massive story. The Chiefs going for a three-peat and a rookie starting a Super Bowl, and just the season that Jaden Daniels has had. We were gushing over him a bit yesterday as well. Every single outcome produces really cool bits into the Super Bowl week.
Like, Nordo's prize picks.
But prize picks, yeah, that's the spot to be.
$20 5-player spotty. Probably won't win, but if you do, who knows? Could be a nickel or more.
Got a Saquon opinion. You could mix and match. Maybe throw a little Kirill back into the mix if he's healthy. Hopefully he's back soon. Anthony Edwards. It's prize picks.
Zach Ertz. Who knew? So they don't really. I mean, it's like the rooting vociferously, social media-ishly against somebody that's really not us. It doesn't matter to us for now. I mean, because as devotees of the Minnesota Vikings, why would we ignore the proverbial speck in our eye and instead be concerned about the plank in somebody else's? We have plenty of work to do around here, and sweating others lots in life ain't the 9 to noon approach. Our approach today, courtesy of TimberTech and TimberTech.com, offers a set list that includes former National Football League MVP Rich Gannon, 30 minutes from now. He's followed by The Scribe. And at 11, we offer our therapeutic Davenport of love to Detroit Lions Vox, the play-by-play voice, Dan Miller. But before all that, we welcome you to a Tuesday of play, 9 to noon style at FM 100.3, KFAN, Nordo produces, and I'm Paul Allen. And here comes the money grab. And good morning.
The fan, along with you, the listener, how about we come together for an opportunity to get $1,000 in your hand as a loyal 9 to noon and KFAN listener? It's the National Cash Contest. And all you got to do, you go to KFAN.com, you enter the keyword cash, and you might win $1,000. The keyword is cash. You just got to go and enter that keyword at KFAN.com.
So that girl I met on eHarmony. Yeah. We're out to dinner last night, and like a klutz, I tipped my drink all over myself. Oh, no. And it's all down my shirt. A horrible stain. So embarrassing. And you'll never guess.
What?
She smiles, picks up her drink, spills it all over her top. So now we're...
No way.
Amazing, right?
At eHarmony, you'll find someone you can be yourself with. Get who gets you on eHarmony. Sign up for eHarmony today.
Welcome back, 9 to noon. It is time for
Vikes Bites.
And Vikes Bites is always brought to you by Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed Grass-Fed Beef. And you can shop online. Box of meat shows up at your doorstep. You can also go to local Coborns, local co-ops locations. Thousand Hills, a Clearwater, Minnesota company. They also are proud sponsors of Gophers Athletics. And we start here.
Vikes Bites.
News coming out yesterday, whether it's Dan Miller, maybe we'll dig in specifically to the Bears situation during News to Nord later. But Ben Johnson, it sounds like, is going to be the new Chicago Bears head coach. Well, what does that mean for the Minnesota Vikings? Because Brian Flores has had a few different coaching interview opportunities as the Vikings offseason sadly unceremoniously started a bit earlier than any of us would have wanted.
Honey.
Well, Flores interviews Bears, Jets, and Jaguars. So now, Ben Johnson to the Bears. So we can cross the Bears off the list. The Jets, I saw this reported on the X machine. They do not want Aaron Glenn to leave the building today.
Wow.
That is Lions defensive coordinator, Aaron Glenn. So the Jets don't want Aaron Glenn to leave the building today. If that is the case, I would be so bold as to deduce that Brian Flores might not be the A1 candidate with the New York Jets. Okay, well, there's the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I just kind of threw it out there yesterday. I'm thinking, you want your second head coaching opportunity and you're going to jump down to that thing down in Jacksonville? Well, this was reported on by Schefter. There are 3 head coaching finalists, including ousted Jets coach Robert Saleh. Brian Flores is not in the final group among those in the Jaguars' second in-person interview list. So as of now, and this is where it gets weird. Like, we're talking about a human's life here. He wants to be a head coach again, and so ultimately, I root for him to get to the platform that he wants.
You're lying.
But as of now, there is also the part of me, just as a Vikings fan and as a rube, that would lend me to believe that unless another opportunity arises quickly, Brian Flores is here to stay.
You homer!
So that is the update in terms of the coaching opportunities. Now,
you're so much better finding select button bar items to set up things than me, because you know where all the bones are buried with all this.
Football.
He's JJ. Hardcore hell wild.
Where all that is. Because for me, it's like, and instead, Vox in the Box Thursday, going to be there at 9 and going to start talking to the. There we go, Paul. Got it.
What are you trying to insinuate?
I mean, you just fire away at that bad boy. Okay, now you're showing off.
So Brian Flores is, it appears at this stage as though he's more likely to remain the Vikings defensive coordinator than he is to take one of the new head coaching opportunities that exist out there. Now,
right.
The New Orleans Saints, it's still a spot.
If you're B-Flow and the Raiders called and said, shh, we will make you favored to take this job. We're not saying that you would win, but we will make you one of the favorites and guarantee you 2 interviews.
Ooh.
What do you say?
Well, if I'm Brian Flores, I remember...
And we're trading Max Crosby.
Hell.
Well, then the phone hangs up. The phone absolutely hangs up.
Remember Paul Guenther?
Oh, yeah.
He became defensive coordinator for John Gruden's Oakland Raiders.
He did indeed.
And I'd say... Well, up to the season, within X amount of months before playing the season, got everything ready to go, got all the schemes and the plans and everything, and they trade Khalil Mack.
Hell.
Wow.
Would have been awful.
Right to the Bears, though.
Oh, what year was he? Because we had a lot of defensive assistants or advisors.
Yeah,
and
Sleepy Dom.
Oh, my goodness. Dom Capers a few booths down.
Bernie Kukar. One of our very favorites.
Wake me up when the game's over.
Bernie, if you're listening right now, God bless you and love you and your family. Like, Bernie was in the coach's box, I think during the regular season, looking for sketchy plays that we can challenge. And now we have Ryan Cordell, the director of dispute.
There we go, Paul.
How good was he this year?
Yeah.
I mean, he was
impeccable.
Just absolutely on fire.
Yes.
The one in the Rams game, that was a little bit of, we just need a miracle here. So we're just going to throw the flag and see what happens.
Once Bursich and I learned his father, Roger, listens to every game on the radio from Maryland, all of a sudden the director of dispute, the game manager, whatever the official title is.
Yeah.
He got a lot of love in the old Vikings radio network. What's on with that, Roger?
Well, we are a major market, Minneapolis and St. Paul, 15, 16, 17, somewhere in that area in terms of populace and all that.
Major is subjective there, but I'm not going to argue with you.
Okay, perfect. Mid-market, whatever, but we have an NFL team.
Feels like Omaha right now.
And we have the core for it, absolutely does. It is barren out there. It is awful.
I ain't talking about the weather.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about Ant from 3 and the football team watching others. Damn, man. Maybe Parker Squad will win tonight against the Hawkeyes.
But do you think What is it? New York Giants, Bob Papa.
Mm-hmm.
You think like Bob Papa, longtime Giants, Vox. I think he's done golf and some other things as well. But Bright Lights, big city.
Yeah.
That like some linebacker, like, do you think they would do like a Van Ginkel style? And then like the family from Pennsylvania is like, hey, our son's on the radio.
Yeah. Amani Toomer catching his 10th pass in a game for a team record 285. I don't think Bob and Howard Cross are going to go, the tomb is on fire.
So there is still, even though we're an NFL market, we are, again, 15th, 16th, 17th largest market in the country.
Yeah.
There is still a little bit of family gather around the radio.
Yes.
Hear a name.
Yes.
And hear the Vox, especially if you let the Vox know, he's going to lean on that and push that button a little bit when he's got some free time during a game.
Yes.
I think there's a beautiful part of that from a community standpoint. I do think so.
We care about our listeners. We care about the team. We care about the assistant coaches who take time to tell us, my father, Roger, listens to every single game. And I think it's like he paid NFL.com or something to get radio that you can get live or whatever.
Yeah.
And so then Ryan Cordell went from like game manager, whatever the official title is, to director of dispute.
I always love that.
Father Roger listening every single play, waiting to hear about the director. The 11:03 guest, Dan Miller.
Yeah.
The Fox for the Motor City Kitties. I mean, it happens to the best of us. It's happened to me. I think maybe, the like most negative, viral-ish tweet I think that maybe I've ever sent out when the Vikings were not in the playoffs was when the Packers got bounced a game after Jair Alexander mocked Justin Jefferson's gritty.
I always love that.
And it wasn't very good. And then I'm like, now you got plenty of time to work on that gritty in the offseason, Jair.
I always love that one.
It just went nuts. Dan Miller went apoplectic yesterday, middle of the afternoon.
Uh-oh.
And he's not responding to a tweet. I think he just got tired of hearing it on the radio or seeing it in email or seeing it via the X machine. Dan writes, some of you would apparently never take a better job with a massive raise at a competitor. Who cares where Ben Johnson goes? I'm happy for him. Now he's on the list of people who need to get their ass kicked on any given Sunday. Just handle your business. Oh my gosh. He's so even-keeled and mellow and sweet, and he went apoplectic on the X machine.
I've never met Dan Miller. I've talked to him probably 5-6 times over the course of a year for now 10 years, right?
So you love him.
You wouldn't get that from him.
No.
That's very, very contrary to how I know Dan. But you saw it yesterday. It was the same thing when Stefanski went to Cleveland. Mm-hmm. And we are on the verge of ultimately the battering in the Bay. Not the Jim Tom Sula one in 2015, but the playoff loss after the 2019 season. Mm-hmm. And it's basically the Vikings may have just rolled into the tarmac and are taxiing back here in Minneapolis, and everyone's down and going home.
Awful.
And then it was one of the Schefter types, now the season's over. Kevin Stefanski is obviously a favorite and will be expected to take the Cleveland Browns job.
He couldn't get out of the facility quickly enough.
And everybody's just looking back. We had the early touchdown, may have been Aldrick Robinson, or maybe it was Diggs, I forgot. Head
coach is like, we need an exit interview. He goes, no. I'll see you when I win 2 Associated Press Coach of the Year awards, and we can talk then. But
the fan base was apoplectic, using that word, and the idea that we weren't prepared for the Niners because Stefanski was too busy getting his suits ironed to go to the shores of Lake Erie. It goes back to the coaching interviews, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Can you hold it off until after the Super Bowl just to eliminate any of those ideas?
Right.
I think Stefanski and our team was ready. I think Ben Johnson and the Lions were ready. Mm-hmm. You know who wasn't ready? Aaron Glenn's defense for that Jaden Daniels bit.
And Glenn had been doing interviews. Johnson had been doing interviews. Doors closed.
Yeah.
Second level Allen Park. Doors closed. All the tight ends coach wants to do is, all Hank Fraley, the offensive line coach, wants to do is get with Ben for 30 seconds and talk about a blitz pickup. That's all. But no, Dan. I went there at 3. The door was closed. Okay, cool. We've all been through it. Cool. Well, no, then I went there at 5, 7, and 9, and it still was closed, and I heard people whispering, and it was weird. All right, super special Bobby Slowick, offensive coordinator, Texans, dead. Boy, their offense looked good. I mean, it's I don't know. I hear about it every single year. I've seen it here. Well, we got one. I mean, O'Connell had to have had door-closed terrorism up to the Super Bowl, and they won.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it goes both ways.
It certainly does. Vikes Bites!
That's Vikes Bites with beef.
Hey, can I ask you a question? Who do you think the defensive MVP was?
For the season?
For the Minnesota Vikings.
Oh, Minnesota Vikings? Oh, wow, the gink. The gink is on fire. Excellent question.
I was going to lean Jonathan Grenard myself.
It's Grenard or the Gink, one of the two.
Vikes Bites!
I think Jalen Redmond made a late charge.
Jalen Redmond, potential team
charge.
MVP. I didn't have a lot to go on to build off of that, but I had a very defensive focus initially to Vikes Bites. Mm-hmm. And I'm just thinking about those additions, and it's the measured spending spree, and it's Flores' influence, and all of those things, and the potential trickle down, and now, if Flores stays, can you talk a Cam Bynum or a Byron Murphy Jr. into maybe, a fair dollar to stay in purple, and just those conversations that will persist. But just to the new additions, I can't think of two guys. I mean, at least as a Vikings fan, that it's been a while since we've had two new faces that came in and immediately made the impact that those two guys did, both Grenard and Van Ginkel. You could even loop a third one into the mix, despite, sadly, we missed him for a couple of games, Blake Cashman.
Yeah, Cashy.
And specifically how quickly the face of the defense changed.
Yep, Shaq Griffin.
With the eyes.
I always love that one.
Stephon Gilmore.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Right.
Watch out for Khalif Raymond, though, across the middle.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, just the way that Grenard and Van Ginkel immediately made plays, immediately were productive, I would agree with you. MVP. Now, to this. We have a situation here that we may have to look at.
Three receivers right, one left. Tajay Spears to the left of Will Levis on third down near the Vikings end
this is
zone.
the right
Levis
highlight.
back to pass. He's hit, and he's sacked. He's taken down. Second sack today. Patrick Jones with the sack, his 6th this season. That's a loss of 5.
So in the first 10 games, PA, Patrick Jones had 7 sacks, 9 total tackles for loss, 12 QB hits in the first 10 games. Mm-hmm. Had a somewhat productive game a couple weeks later against the Cardinals, but appeared to get nicked up. He was hurt in the border battle. He was inactive for the Kitties finale and then the Rams playoff game. I wonder what his lot is as he enters free agency. Spent his 4 years here. We asked for him to take a jump into 2024. Whether it's contract season related or not, kind of saw a similar boost from DJ Wanham a year ago, and then ultimately he used that to kind of spring himself into a free agency deal with Carolina.
And he was off injury, and to a man, I didn't take a second this season to see how DJ Wanham was doing with them Kitties.
I admit that I did not either.
I'm going to do it right now.
But now, a year later, you have a guy in the same spot in Patrick Jones. Yeah. Now, the spot that Patrick Jones was occupying, specifically early when he was healthy, and he started off with 4 sacks in the first 2 games, some were saying, well, Patrick Jones is getting all at Dallas Turner's snaps. And I just wonder how they look at Patrick Jones. The health issue on the back end of the season was a problem. They certainly want to help elevate and get Dallas Turner into fighting shape as he enters his 2nd season. But Patrick Jones is going to be a free agent when he was healthy. Most productive season of his career as a member of the Minnesota Vikings. I wonder if he's back, PA.
If he is, and he's playing more than Dallas Turner, year 2 for the Alabama rookie.
Yeah, that's a big problem.
Okay, nothing personal here. We don't need to change numbers on buttons to get in the side entrance. It's not like we're saying at the end of the equation the Vikings' defense was better than its offense. We're not saying that either. So we have to change that 2 to a 3.
Change the identity of the team, maybe?
Call chorus and have a 30-minute conversation outside when it's minus 18 wind chill.
I always love that.
We don't need that. We don't prefer that.
No.
It's a great question because they have requisite money to spend depending on what a player of Patrick Jones' ilk would command. Yours truly can't believe a player of Patrick Jones' variety would command something that breaks the bank. Now, they happen to They happen to be quite fond of a UCLA undrafted edge named Gabriel Murphy.
Oh, yeah.
And old Gabe Murphy got a few opportunities this year, but, nothing bountiful or over the top. So, Renard, the Gink is on fire. Dallas Turner, Gabriel Murphy, those four right there. 3 of them are signed, sealed, and delivered. I'm yours, copyright Stevie Wonder. And then Murphy, that's undrafted second year. That's like rolls of quarters and dimes to pay somebody, and give them just bump their per diem for road trips by $50 a trip, and we call it a day. So with Patrick, I ain't going to make a guess here because when he was healthy and when things were fresh and new, he was catching teams off guard and he was coming through.
Yeah.
But overall, at the end of the equation, how much are they going to have to spend to satisfy their desire to enhance or bolster the interior of the offensive line? That's expected to absolutely be a thing.
Yep. And that's going to cost some cash.
We have gone another postseason through 2 rounds where we're watching the Deron Paynes and Jonathan Allens. Okay, first-round picks. What about Cleveland Farrell? Hey, Cleveland Farrell, the skeletal remains changing games. DJ Reader, skeletal remains of Aleem McNeil when he's healthy. Is it Javon Carter or
Jalen Carter in Philly?
Thank you, Jalen Carter.
They got that Jordan Davis, too, that big beef eater.
Yeah, those are a couple of Georgia Bulldogs who were selected high.
Yep.
Okay, so, the Vikings have the 24th overall pick in the draft, but those guys wreak havoc inside.
Indeed.
Chris Jones is an inside player. Oh, goody, we're going to get our fill of him. Not Ed Ingram, but Ed Oliver. It was okay, but Oliver, he has some twitch inside.
Not 3rd overall pick twitch, but twitch.
3rd overall for Oliver, that's
pretty sure.
Right. Damn, no, he did go high, I know that. But we get to watch that. So now it's like, do we draft it or do we pay for it? And what are we paying for? So
9th overall, my bad.
When they start allocating the cash, how much is going to be left for Patrick Jones?
Right.
It's a fair question.
Yeah, and that's the spot they're in with so many limited draft capital means they're going to have to find those sorts of value. Is it value on the D-line? Is it value at corner?
Right.
With those free agent situations. And the fact of the matter is the Vikings have been on the wrong end of the Kobe Turners. They've been on the wrong end of the Dexter Lawrences. In postseason games in recent years, interior O-line makes a lot of sense. But I was actually going to end with a question about the interior of our defensive line.
Conklin, 6 catches, 55 yards from the pistol formation. Rodgers, back to pass, and Rodgers is sacked. He's sacked by Harrison Phillips. 2nd sack this year for Harrison Phillips. That was a big one, driving back Aaron Rodgers 10 yards. It's 3rd and 13 from the Jets' 27.
What'd you think of Harrison Phillips this year? Brings the snap count down, 4 passes defended. He had 2 sacks versus 3 a year ago. Sometimes I struggle with my expectations for Harrison Phillips, PA, because the combination of him and another guy to watch, by the way, sneakily, Jonathan Bullard is a free agent.
Yeah.
And I like him and Phillips both against the run.
Same.
And I think they've done a really good job there. But then in terms of that thrust, in terms of finding their way to QBs, for a team that got a lot of sacks, most of them, of course, came from the edge. It feels like an evergreen talker, the way that will become, the offensive line or guard of the day. And I'm going to try and sell you on Cam Robinson becoming the next Mekhi Becton and being a guard for the Vikings. But in the end, the other...
I'm not negative on that idea when you brought it up. I hadn't thought of it. Then I watched Becton get his hands on some safeties from the right guard spot.
Yeah.
And I think he came out of Louisville. And he was not.
He did.
Yeah, he was not drafted as a guard.
Nope. 10th or 11th pick to the Jets, and he was supposed to be, I think, maybe the year before or after they had taken Elijah Vera Tucker, if you remember that name. And they were going to bolster that offensive line. And now the Jets version of their moving company was just going to be unbelievable, and he never fit. And he was hurt.
Yeah. We've had a change. We've had a change with Becton, and it's worked. Now he's next to Lane Johnson. He's near the end.
Doesn't hurt.
He's got some high end to him. The center, seriously, the embarrassment of riches at center the Philadelphia Eagles have had. Michael Juergens' older brother is the center for the Philadelphia Eagles. It's one of the best in the NFL. Juergens is on our squad. He was a rookie. And he replaces Jason Kelsey, who's HOF. So they got this nice little center pipeline going there, but I'm not negative thinking about that. Now, interior of defensive line, I mean, there's no way would 6 in a row, 4B flow. 6 in a row, 4B flow. Turn down a game-changing interior tackle, Kobe Turner, or somebody who can rush the quarterback. Harrison Phillips had the newest, best season of his career. For that, he got paid for it.
Yep.
I think at one point he had 4 passes defensed, might have finished it with 5. That's good. I mean, that's Harrison's tall, but he's not like super tall. So it's deflecting passes at the line of scrimmage. That's part of the job.
I wish I had that in front of me, by the way. It felt like we were better at that this year.
Yes.
In totality as a defensive unit at large.
Agreed. The Kansas City Chiefs are hosting Buffalo, and the Philadelphia Eagles are hosting division rival Washington. And we're going to chat about those games, plus Ben Johnson becoming new head coach of the Chicago Bears with former NFL MVP Rich Gannon around the corner. You just heard Vikes Bites, which happens to be provided by
Thousand Hills, lifetime grazed, grass-fed beef.
Lavelle. 9 to noon's back after this.
So that girl I met on eHarmony.
Yeah.
We're out to dinner last night, and like a klutz, I tipped my drink all over myself.
Oh, no.
And it's all down my shirt. A horrible stain. So embarrassing. And you'll never guess.
What?
She smiles, picks up her drink, spills it all over her top. So now we're...
No way.
Amazing, right?
At eHarmony, you'll find someone you can be yourself with. Get who gets you on eHarmony. Sign up for eHarmony today.
Super Bowl, homeboy.
They don't play the PlayStation like us.
Winter. And winter is coming. It's coming.
Oh boy, that was just an ugly one.
Rich Gannon, former Minnesota Vikings quarterback and league MVP after the 2002 season, joins us now. Rich, it's Paul. How have you been?
I'm doing great, my friend. How are you?
Excellent. That's a little chilly here in the cornfields, but we're used to it, as are you. Help me with this before I ask you about Ben Johnson. Jim Knowles. Who's Jim Knowles, and how far back do you guys go?
We were high school teammates in Philadelphia. He's my best friend, and while I have loyalty to the folks at the University of Minnesota and the outstanding job that they have done, this is my best friend from high school, who just happens to be the defensive coordinator at Ohio State. So I think he's the best defensive coordinator in the country. That defense is a big reason why Ohio State won the national championship this year, and I'm just really proud of them.
That's beautiful. I'm glad you shared. I was peeking at your Twitter for a second, and you were loving on Jim Knowles, and just wanted to know how deeply you came from your heart, and they're the national champions. Now, Ben Johnson, former offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions, is taking over the Bears. What does MVP think of that big move?
I'm not surprised. I wish him well. I always worry that when you go out, the number one priority is we've got this young quarterback in Caleb Williams, and he had kind of a rocky season, and we didn't do a great job protecting him. He was sacked more than any other quarterback in the league this season. So we got to make sure we get him right. Let's go find somebody to fix him. Problem is if you find somebody to fix him, but doesn't coach the entire team or can't coach the entire team. I hope things work out for Ben Johnson. I think he's a terrific young coach. But you can't just bring in somebody to coach the quarterback or fix the quarterback or be the play caller. You got to have somebody who can coach the entire football team, special teams, defense, offense. I hope he can do that, because this is going to be a lot different than just coaching the offense in Detroit with, all that firepower that they have. Chicago's got a lot of issues on both sides of the ball, but, we'll see how it goes. It's never, that's the one thing that these young coaches don't realize. They're so used to sitting in their office and putting together these great game plans and great calls. Now, you're getting pulled in every different direction. You got to meet with the owner. You got to meet with the general manager. You got to figure out the players. You got to figure out the draft. You got to figure out, who we're keeping, who's going to be active this week, the injury situation. There's a lot that goes on that takes you away from what you do well and what you enjoy doing, and that's game planning.
All right. Now, how much on the other side do you think it zaps the Lions?
Well, I think it's a big loss for the Lions because you lose not only him, but most likely Aaron Glenn as well. So you lose two really good coordinators that have had great success there in Detroit. You think about that dramatic turnaround, PA. I know you're well aware of this. They've won 3 or more games in each of the years that Dan Campbell's been there. They went from winning 3 games his first year up until 15 games, and it did it in a quick 4 years. It's been incredible. So there's a lot to there's a lot of really good coaches that they're going to lose from that staff. And on top of that, there's a good chance that when they leave, they're going to take a couple of assistants with them, right? If you're Ben Johnson, you may take a receivers coach or an offensive line coach to come be your coordinator. So there's a trickle-down effect as well.
Is National Football League officiating, Rich, right now, the worst it has been?
I don't believe so. I think it's a hard game to officiate, PA. You know that. I think with all these cameras that we have, and I think we have an educated fan base. I think it's driving people crazy. I think we miss all these face mask calls. I don't know why that's so difficult. The situation with Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, how he's treated with kid gloves, I think it bothers a lot of people, and it should. There's just not the consistency that we need when it comes to certain, officiating certain calls in the game. But I think the NFL, the competition committee, will continue to look at that. I think change is coming as it relates to hits on the quarterback because it's gotten out of control. When we make something a priority, there's a tendency for the officiating to over officiate it, right? Hits on quarterback, let's make sure that doesn't happen. It's just gotten to be a point where there's just a lack of consistency week in and week out.
Maybe, Rich, MVP, maybe officials are being hired too soon. I mean, maybe some.
No, there's no question.
And I'm not. I ain't talking about the referees who have outside of a couple have earned their way up, but maybe some are skipping levels and just aren't ready. Maybe that's something to broach with Dean Blandino the next time he's on your Sirius show.
Well, I have him on every week on our 33rd call as well, so I have the benefit of listening to his great commentary. He goes back and he reviews questionable calls. He gives a league perspective each week. He's fascinating, and he's a bright guy. And I would suggest, and he has said this, and I'm not sharing anything that he wouldn't be comfortable with me sharing, but we lost a lot of really good referees in the last 5 years, and so we're promoting people who just don't have the experience. We don't have NFL Europe anymore. Some of the World Football League. So some of these officials, are coming from doing a handful of games in the ACC or the Big Ten or the Pac-12, and so they don't have the experience, and as well as line judges and back judges and those type of positions as well. So I don't think there's any question that we have some people who are calling games that aren't quite ready for National Football League games.
Rich Gannon, former Minnesota Vikings quarterback and National Football League MVP. Got a couple more here for MVP. Saquon went for an average of 148 and a couple of touchdowns against the Commanders this year. Do you give Washington much of a shot in this one?
Absolutely, because of this quarterback. He's been terrific. They've been the cardiac Commanders for a reason. I think they went into Detroit and dropped the house on them. This is a team that has really, I think, played better football the last 7 weeks of the season. Their defense has come on. I think they're more than capable of I don't want to say surprising the Philadelphia Eagles, but they're more than capable of beating the Eagles. If they could, Saquon Barkley is the issue. If you can make him earn it, in other words, let him get his 115 yards, just don't let him get over 200 yards. But let him get 115 during the course of a 60-minute game, you got a chance. What they have to do is they have to force Jalen Hurts. They have to put the ball in the hands of Jalen Hurts, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 8. Make him win the game and not Saquon Barkley.
Last one, your trained eye. What's the trained eye analysis of the season Sam Darnold just had?
I would say incredible. Over 4,300 passing yards, 35 touchdowns, the best season he's ever had as a pro. I think he certainly was a perfect fit for what they were doing. I think the head coach, Kevin O'Connell, deserves a lot of credit for this turnaround that this kid has had. But this is the NFL, and there'll have to be some tough decisions, and we'll see who lines up under center next year. My sense is it's going to be J.J. McCarthy. My sense is there's no way they can keep Sam Darnold, pay him that money, and also invest in what the future is in J.J. McCarthy.
45 seconds, just have to have your opinion. All right, and I'm with you on Darnold. How do you get past that Lions game? How do you get past all the touchdowns schemed open and he missed them all?
You don't. And I think it's a lack of, you can almost include that as a postseason game, right? He didn't have a lot of postseason experience. They got to him early, PA. They knocked him around. They knocked him around the following week. He got sacked 9 times. And you take a good quarterback and you knock him around, he becomes a very average quarterback.
The best, my brother. Call you soon.
Thanks, pal.
Rich Gannon, former National Football League MVP. Into the second hour, we will localize it even more with the scribe, Ben Gessling, who covers the Minnesota Vikings for the Star Tribune. He's a weekly piece on Tuesday, and he's next.